By the way, how does it feel to be up at like 10:30 in the morning? Is that because the kids, or are you just used to being up early?
Oh my gosh. Once you have kids, all bets are off. Your life isn't your own, and probably better for it. It's I can remember a time when I used to sleep till 2 in the afternoon, but that was because I was going to bed with the sun coming up. And now if I want to stay up all night, that's my business. But I'm getting up in the morning.
The good old days.
Yes.
All right, so let's get right into it. I know we're going to talk about this new album, and I'm really stoked about this because I'll be honest with you, I've been listening to this album over and over again. It's so good.
The response has been I can't say anything other than it's been phenomenal. I think everybody, whatever their expectations were, it seems to exceed that. People are very happy with it, and I certainly was. The band is phenomenal, and we have such a great time together. And I think that shows not just in the music, but in the videos, and if anybody's seen us live. So it's been very, very gratifying. Just gratification on gratification. It's been gift on gift on gift because, like I said, the response from people I really respect and have inspired me. Their responses have been just awesome.
Yeah. And, listening to the songs, well, first, I feel like, this band wasn't necessarily a recording band. It was a live band that's now transitioned to the studio. And you've got guys that have played, with Stevie Wonder and Whitney Houston and, all these phenomenal musicians that are really, were a part of that scene. How does that elevate your performance in the studio with these guys?
Well, first of all, I think what you're saying is very on target, very perceptive. This was not a band that was assembled in the studio and then we're going, well, let's go out and play. This is a band that played. Let's go in the studio.
Yeah, that's usually how it works, right? Usually it's a studio, then it goes live, whereas you did it backwards.
And which is much better because it shows. To be with these people, it's look, I'm humbled, but I'm also having a great time, and we're all on this almost crusade of sorts. This music that we're doing is music that's been relegated now to pretty much being little samples and rap tunes, and that's okay. But the songs are too great to not be heard. And whether it's recorded or live, it's just great music. And everybody in the band says, we do other things when we're not doing this, but this is all we want to do. I mean, it's really a family. It's so cool because so many different backgrounds, ethnicities, nationalities, and we're all bonded in this, and we have a ball.
Honestly, it's translated on tape too, because it just sounds like you're having tons of fun recording this stuff. And even the originals that you did for this record, it's like I was transported listening to, like IOI and different things. And I'm like, it really does sound like a product of the time. Like you were taking all the influences of those records, those, the Stax and, the Motown. And I really got transported, and I wasn't even there, but I grew up listening to all those stuff with my grandparents and even my parents. I've DJ'd weddings in the town that I'm from. It's like, it's that kind of vibe. And the originals, I was like, wait, are these covers or these originals? And it even translates into the production of the record too. Like it just sounds so good. So you did a very good job, recreating that sound.
Thanks. It's interesting because sonically it doesn't sound like those original recordings because time's moved on. And
well, yeah, you got Pro Tools and it was 4-track tape back then, but it's like it still sounds like an Al Green record if you
because I think what it's not that it sounds sonically like those records, but what we've captured is we play live and we love what we're doing. So that's really that's lacking in a lot of music nowadays. So when you hear that, you go, wow, it sounds just like the originals. Well, if you put the originals on, you'll see that sonically they're missing. The performances are amazing,
Hmm.
but as far as the fidelity of it, we wanted this to sound like like a recording today. But what's missing and sets it apart is clearly just the idea that there's human beings making music.
Yeah, there's a big difference, from a horn section being programmed and actual humans blowing into those instruments and just getting the vibe going in the room. Did you guys cut it like live off the floor, like everybody, or?
We did as much as we could. I think the rhythm section um, did about. I think we did about 9 tracks in a little over a day, and
Nice.
yeah, and then
Even that in itself is like old school recording, going into the studio and banging them out.
crazy. Nowadays, and I totally get it. People go for perfection over passion, and that wasn't. We weren't beating our heads against the wall to make everything perfect. We weren't watching this on a computer screen, and that's what a lot of music is made now. You
Right.
look at it on the computer screen and you fix it that way, as opposed to just listening and going, it sounds great, it feels great. What about that one spot? Forget about it. If people are that tuned into that one spot, then we failed.
Right. No, that makes sense. And it's interesting because, through your career, I always felt like you were a singer that just so happens to be in a rock band. Like, even when you did the Phantom stuff and, now with this, it's a completely different direction from what you were doing with Kiss. I mean, like, is this in a way going to be your Rod Stewart moment?
Well, that's funny. Well, Rod loves the album, so that's a good thing. He just can't say enough. So that's a funny one to bring up. But I've always seen myself as a singer who sings rock as opposed to a rock singer. It's a choice I make. And when there are some people who say, well, stay in your lane, I'm on the freeway. And on the freeway, I don't have to stay on my lane. I do what I want to do because it makes me happy. That's why I got into music, is for that freedom. So um, I think I'm right on target. I'm doing what I love doing, and whenever I do what I love doing, it finds its audience.
Yeah. And I say, it's a completely different direction from, the Dolls and Raspberries inspired Kiss tunes from the Star Child. How different is the writing process to go from, doing that stuff to this?
Honestly, it's no different because the same rules apply. Good songwriting is based on certain tenets, so to speak. Certain things that you do, and look, I was immersed in this music when we were doing it, and the shows and whatever we were doing. So writing the songs wasn't a matter of let me write in the style of or imitate this or that. I was in it.
Right.
So writing the songs, the same type of rules apply, and it kind of goes almost back. You've got Holland Dozier Holland, you've got Norman Whitfield, you've got um, uh, I mean, the list is endless. Philly Soul, you got Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, the Brill Building, you had people like Carole King and Jerry Goff in one cubicle, Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil in the next, Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich, and all these people would be competing to write for every artist.
Mm.
And the reason they could do it was because you understand the foundations of songwriting.
Right. Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, a good song is a good song regardless of the genre.
Yeah, the genre may change, but the structure usually is the same. As far as the orchestrations and doing the strings and the horns, I've got great inspirations. Tom Bell and Gamble and Huff and Paul Reiser at Motown. All these people did these beautiful symphonic arrangements. And part of the music I listened to growing up was classical. So, it's not a stretch. It's just another side of what I love doing.
Yeah. When you guys end up get back on the road and like do this stuff live and do some shows, like, are we gonna see like the Paul Stanley Soul Station live at the Wynn Las Vegas residency, or is this gonna like go on the road? Is it gonna be like a come
Oh,
see us in
sure.
X City?
Sure. We did, for example, I mean, other than our single shows here and there, we did 12 shows in 6 days in Japan. So, yeah, we love doing what we do. And Vegas, well, Vegas isn't the Vegas it once was. And, that's just
Yeah, but the
a
cool thing about, and I said the Win, is because this kind of music, it's like I'd like to go have a cocktail, hit a couple of slots, go see Paul Stanley Soul Station with this old school cool music. Like you go to a classy resort, not like Planet Hollywood or somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, also, you know, us playing, we've played clubs and it's all great. Anytime you can get people packed into a place who are up for a good time and love this music. Even some people who are just being introduced to this music, to me, the music's undeniable.
Mm.
And people who sell themselves short by saying, "Oh, I only like this kind of music," that's like, well, you may love hamburgers, but you want to eat them, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I sure don't. Um, you're malnourished if you only listen to one kind of music. Your loss.
I totally agree. Let me ask you this: you said Rod Stewart loved the album. What did Gene think of the music?
Gene loves it. It's so much a part of our roots. You know, we text each other all the time. A couple of days ago, I texted him and sent him a hidden and kind of unknown gem from Philadelphia by a group called Candy and the Kisses that Kenny Gamble had written a song for. And yeah, this is our roots. Before I ever saw Zeppelin or all the bands that inspired me on that level, I saw Otis Redding. I saw Otis when I was 15. I saw Solomon Burke when I was 10. So the Temps. So it's part of the foundation of what I do. If all I listened to was music that was similar to what I wound up doing, I think I would have missed the boat. There's a lot of influences in Kiss that aren't obvious at first, but for example, Shout It Out Loud. The way the verse goes up, well, the night's begun and you want some fun. Do you think you're gonna think you're gonna find it? Well,
Right.
that answer is the Four Tops.
Right.
So, you know, good recipes have little bits of different ingredients in it. And, my music's no different. So now I'm just focusing on a part of it that I'm really passionate about. Some people said, well, is this a vanity project? No, it's a passion project.
Mm. Yeah, and it looks like you're just having an absolute blast, like playing the tunes. Like you just see you smiling in the videos. And I'm like, Paul's having a damn good time.
It's awesome. I mean, to be in the midst of something that big and grand and all those instruments, look, I love the Delphonics. I love the Stylistics. I love the Spinners, the Temps. So to hear that music around me and to be singing it, it's hard to beat.
I'd love to see this live and like you just kick into like J.R. Walker and the All Stars, like Shotgun or something.
It's the band is great, and again, we go for broke when we play.
How do you think Kiss fans are going to react to the music and the album? Because there's a big portion of the fan base that's like, what's Paul doing? So how do you think they're going to react? Because I'm a Kiss fan and I'm all invested in this. So
it's whatever you want to do. I don't lose sleep over that because I got into music for the freedom of it.
Right.
So if somebody doesn't like it, well, you can't like everything, but if you're immediately negative about it because you don't want me to be doing it, well, that's crazy, because I can't live, and never wanted to and never will, within the confinement that someone else may set for me. You know, if all you want me to do is one thing, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that. Let me ask you this. Why not get Peter Criss to be in the band? You know, he loves this kind of music. He was taught by Gene Krupa, you know, Paul. That was a joke.
Uh, you see, I'm smiling.
Listen, today's a big anniversary. February 10th, 1978, Van Halen released their debut album. I spoke to Gene back in December, and we had a whole conversation about Edward, but I never got your perspective on the whole Van Halen thing and Kiss and all that. You know, what was your reaction to that album when it came out, 43 years ago now? And, was there any truth to, Eddie and Alex potentially joining Kiss at some point?
I can only speak for myself. And I went to the Starwood, which was a club in LA. There was a group of clubs that you could kind of do a circuit and go around to these different clubs and make a night of it. And I went out one night, actually, with Lita Ford, and we went to Starwood, and she was more familiar with the bands who were playing that night. And there was a band that did Detroit Rock City, and they did a cool version of it. So I said to Gene, come on down, the next night. So he came with us, came with me. I don't know who else came, but Van Halen played, and weren't a handful of people there, but they were on fire. And Gene got up and left where we were and went and talked to them and took them in the studio, did demos with them, and then brought the demos to our manager at the time.
Mm.
And honestly, I was against our manager signing them, because I thought that it was a critical time for us. And Gene is very drawn to different things, as I am. And I didn't want him to lose his focus. So in any case, our manager, Bill O'Coin, had passed on them, but it was in no time after that they got signed to Warner's, and the album came out. Look, they took the world by storm. They were an amazing band. Dave was the guy. I mean, just phenomenal on stage, and the whole band was like a steamroller. As far as joining Edward joining us or anything like that, I have to say I didn't ever hear that. I was on the phone with him around that time. He was calling me, and I think there was tension in his band, and he was asking me, for example, why we did solo albums, why we had to do that. I think he felt that fracturing within his band. But as far as anything beyond that, wanting to join us or anything like that, I have no, I can't say no, and I wouldn't say no. I don't know. I'll leave that to Gene.
And when that first record came out, because today is the big anniversary of that, it's like, what was your initial reaction when you first heard Van Halen, like on the radio or that album? Were you blown away, like, oh wow, like what is this? Or were you just kind of like, it's Kiss?
Well, I knew what it was. It was Van Halen.
Yeah.
It sounded great on the radio. I mean, Running with the Devil sounded ridiculous. Look, it was undeniable. There are certain things that come along that are undeniable. And it's just a matter of watching the momentum as it goes along. When that album came out, it was, okay, here's a game changer. And every band that they played with suffered the consequences of having them opening, because they were just a force to be reckoned with. You didn't want to follow that. Ozzy says, as much, about the shows that Van Halen did with Sabbath.
Yeah, just they would blow him off the stage every night. Let me ask you this, after Van Halen came out and, with Ace slowly and Peter leaving the band and stuff, and you're bringing in guys like Vinnie Vincent, you kind of went away from Ace, who was basically playing Page's licks, to Vinnie, who now has a whammy bar. Was Eddie Van Halen sort of like an influence on the scene at that point, where you kind of said we need more of a hot gun slinging guitar player?
Totally, totally. It really became the what people expected. A few people stuck to their guns and stayed within the context of what they had been doing. But for the most part, yeah, it was the time of guys. I have to say, most of them were just pale imitations.
Hmm.
Um, there was Edward, and there was Randy, and a couple of other people, and then there were just a lot of people, knocking it off. But yeah, we were conscious of what was going on, and because we had members changing, and the band was in kind of like a a state of transition, yeah, we adapted to the times. Not that different than a lot of bands. I mean, certainly, you know, there was a period where the Stones were doing um, Miss You, or and
Right.
you know, you know uh, loads of bands were kind of like,
Kind of stepping out of the lane a little bit.
yeah, stepping out of the lane to keep going,
Mm.
honestly. And you know uh, we got off at some interesting exits, but we got back on the highway.
Yeah. See, I'm a big fan of 80s Kiss. I'm rocking my Hot in the Shade shirt today. Officially licensed kissonline.com. Uh
Mm.
there's a there's a big resurgence of 80s Kiss on social media from younger fans, older
Yeah.
fans. Talking about End of the Road and talking about the set list, I was joking with Gene. I'm like, I totally get you guys, you stick to the hits and stuff. But there's a big portion of the fan base like me who've seen, 4 End of the Road shows now, where it's like it would be so cool if you guys dropped something like, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, and did, I'm not saying, throw in Turn on the Night, but it's like, maybe throw like an extra 80s Kiss song in there?
I think the 80s are represented as they should be. I think you have Lick It Up. I
Hmm.
know that Heaven's on Fire has been in.
Which is great,
Um,
by the way.
Thanks. And War Machine.
Hmm.
There's enough of it. And again, when you've got 30 albums or whatever, sure, you can keep changing it up. Most people don't come to 4 shows. And the person who comes to that one show deserves the best set list possible. And somebody who, like yourself, or a fan who goes to multiple shows, it's not the Grateful Dead. We're not going to jam for an hour on any tune. It really is. These are the songs that made us what we are, and these are the songs that have gotten us to where we are.
Yeah, and I think, with the high prices of concert tickets now, fans kind of expect a perfect performance no matter which city that they're going to? So,
Totally. I maintain that this may be your 4th show, but it's everyone else's first show, and that's what we have to focus on. Is I'm honored and thrilled that people come back, but for them, uh, and some of them, not all of them, but for some of them to say, "Gee, I wish they'd mix up the set list." Well, this is the optimal set list, and we also have incredible technology, and everything has to be um, computer assisted, from the lights to the pyro and everything. You can't suddenly in the middle of the show go, hey, let's throw in two timer. It
Right.
just, you just can't do that. And honestly, most of the audience would go, what's that? What's that song?
Mm.
So to get the heart fluttering of a few people at the expense of the audience, no, can't do it.
Yeah, and I think there's a big misconception out there about these arena acts where it's like there's so many moving parts, from every song having its tracks and its production going and syncs and everything going on. It's like you said, you can't just bust out a brand new song. You don't have a light setting for it, you don't have a screen setting for it, you don't have a production setting for it. So
Yeah, it's just not, it's not it's not possible. And again, it doesn't serve the masses. It serves a handful of people who I'm very glad that they go to multiple shows, and I'm glad that they followed us for years. Um, but the overwhelming majority of people will tell you it was an amazing show and a great set list.
yeah,
That's what we have to really focus on.
I fully agree. The people that are usually moaning about that stuff online is like the guys that do podcasts and they're doing their, Kiss bracket challenges and like, oh, they should have done this or should have done that. It's like the obsessed weirdo fans. And I'm just like, I'm good. I want to go and enjoy the music and have a good time.
Some of those, and I'm not saying it about all of them, but some of them should just go upstairs and, have their mom make them a sandwich and kind of calm down. You know, I get it. But the people who just kind of like harp on that,
Mm.
there's a whole lot more to do in your life, and I suggest you kind of lighten up a bit.
Yeah, Kiss has a really interesting. Like, I'm 26 and I wasn't there, but it's like, for the last 10 years of my life, I've been so into it. And I see, a portion of the fan base on. It's almost like I work in pop radio on a daily basis, and like, when One Direction was doing their big thing, and it was like all the fan fiction and stuff. And like, it's interesting to see these 50-year-old dudes like, almost like writing Kiss fan fiction, where it's like Kiss What Ifs, the Kiss What If podcast and stuff. And if I was you, I would just be like, guys, like, get a life.
No, I'm flattered. When it takes a malicious tone, or
Yeah.
when it gets angry, that's really misdirected. If you want to, focus in on uh, conjecture of what could have happened or what would have been, that's great.
Yeah.
But people who just obsess in a negative way, you know, go find something that makes you happy.
Well, if it happens to be Kiss, more power to him. Paul Stanley Soul Station debut record, Now and Then, set to release on March 19th. You could get it wherever music is sold. More importantly, make sure you buy this on vinyl because it's going to sound so good on vinyl. Are you doing like limited edition, like swirls and stuff, or just straight up black?
There's a limited edition purple one,
Nice.
and then there's the regular one, and it sounds phenomenal on vinyl. And you get a package. We've forgotten, especially now that people are just getting streams and the like. Covers don't even matter, album covers. And there was a time where an album cover meant something, and it was done by artists, or it was a concept piece, and it was something that you would hold in your hands, like I'm holding this cup that I'll put in between my legs. But you would hold this in your hands and open it, and it was something to sink your teeth into. So I'm grateful at the resurgence of vinyl. And the vinyl album, yeah, it has a cover and a note, kind of giving a little bit of history of the band and how it came about, and photos of the band, and it's cool.
Yeah, like a full, there's nothing better than going to a store. Well, if we can go to the store at some point and buy this album, it's like, get that in your hand, open up that gatefold, look at the artwork, read the liner notes. There's no better experience in that when, somebody that you love has put out a piece of art, so.
Well, music now, I get it, you know, and I understand it coming over the internet and coming, but it's there's nothing to sink your teeth into. To have a whole conceptual project, or you know, where you have, this is what the cover should look like, this is what the, you know, the label should look like. Those kind of things, I think, make for a much more uh, full experience.
Yeah, artists today, they don't have the vision. You know, you come from the good old days when artists had a plan and wanted their fans to have something cool in their hands. Now it's just swipe on the screen. You know.
Yeah, but you know, honestly, it that's just as valid. It's just that um, I remember something that I think I appreciated and other people appreciate. What else is going on now is fine. It's you don't want to fall into the situation where you become your parents. You don't want to fall into a situation where you go, oh, when I was your age, I was listening to real music. Well, real music is really a subjective thing. And whatever somebody likes is real music. So I'm not here to judge anything else, but I'm saying there's something really cool you might like, and it's an album, you know, with a cover. So, you know, room for everybody to do their own thing.
That's it. Well, Paul Stanley, you said it all. This was so great. March 19th, pre-order it now. And I'm just so stoked to get this music out there and for everybody to hear it because it's just so good. And like you said, it's good music that needs to be heard. So hopefully people hear it.
Thanks so much.
This was great. Thanks so much for doing this. I'm a fan for life, and we'll see you on the road when Kiss gets back out there to come to the end of the road.
I will see you.
All right. Thanks.